On episode 29 of RVA Real Estate Talk, we're going to talk about how you can surround yourself with success in real estate.
You're listening to RVA Real Estate Talk with Jared Davis and Galen Parker, your source for an honest, insightful look into Central Virginia's real estate market. Combined, Jared and Galen have over 20 years sales experience, as well as hundreds of testimonials from clients past and present who rely on them for advice and assistance when buying and selling homes in today's incredibly hot and competitive real estate market. And now, your hosts, Jared Davis and Galen Parker.
I am Jared Davis.
And I am still Galen Parker.
We are yelling in this thing because the music's so loud on our end, but it fades out. How you doing?
I am doing absolutely great. How are you doing?
I'm really good.
You got some exciting news that I want you to tell us about.
Building a house?
You are building a house, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited.
You know, we help other people buy houses, build houses, sell houses all the time. I have been in my house for almost a decade now, which is crazy to think about. I think it will be 10 years in April that I've been in that house.
And we love your house.
And it's fine. Yeah, there's actually nothing wrong with our house. I thought I was going to stay there forever pre-COVID, and then COVID hit, and I said, never mind.
Some of those stressors that a lot of people are feeling with COVID, they're just like, I need to move. I need to get out of my house. I need to move right now.
Yeah, and actually, like my house, it's not too small. It's not too small. A lot of people needed to upsize through COVID, or they had kids and they needed like schoolrooms.
Did you have any of those things?
Nope, that didn't happen. Mine is 100% first world problems. Part of it was them closing the saunas at the gym originally.
That is a huge one.
And then just busyness trying to get to the gym, and it's like an ordeal most of the time.
This whole thing is about you just not wanting to be fat.
It's a lot of it. Yeah, it's like COVID weight. That's probably it. I like started gaining COVID weight, and I was like, not on my watch.
House.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put a gym in. We're gonna put a sauna in. The pool thing, you know, like now pools are back open and saunas are back.
I feel like
at least
in 10
here.
years, we're gonna have this conversation, and you're like, "Yeah, I just bought a jet so that I can fly to the gym that I want to go to." That will make it. Be like, I'll be like, "Yeah, that makes sense."
Which one I want?
Yeah, I'll be like, "Yeah, that's really reasonable. That makes sense. Yeah, totally get that."
Well, and a lot of it is again first world problems, garage space. So I've outfilled my garage. If you know me, I'm a car nut, and so I'm building a 5-car garage. I could care less about the house. The house keeps getting bigger per HOA rules, and I'm honestly like, you can build a shoebox. Can I just have my 5-car garage? I don't really care.
That's all I care about. Yeah.
It is. So the house somehow just keeps getting bigger and bigger and more expensive and more expensive.
I love it.
Man, building custom. I mean, I should have known because I do this for people all the time.
Thought.
And like I was talking to JT about this, and he said the same thing. He was like, "Man,
Justin Timberlake."
Yeah, that guy. And he was like, "Man, I got it so wrong on how big how much I thought this was going to be, because he's building about the same square footage as me, but no basement, so it's all going to be one floor.
Ooh.
So we're at like 4,700 square feet now on like one floor with a basement. I think he's going to be close to that with just the one floor, which you can imagine how much foundation and roof space is and all that." And when I guessed the number, he was like, "That's exactly right." And he was like, "How did I not see that?" And I was like, "I guess yours right, but apparently I got mine wrong." So they just added $140,000 the other day to my quote, for just making the floor print bigger per the HOA. Not for options.
And the HOA said, we need it bigger so that we can fine you, or whatever they do.
Whatever the heck. I mean, this had nothing to do with options. I haven't even chosen options yet, so I'm guessing it's going to go up like another 150 with options. And then I was like, well, there goes my pool, but it's not, because I want the pool. So it is what it is. First world issues.
First world problems.
But it's going to be great, because think about the client parties we can have there. Think about the housewarming we can have with the team events we can have there.
I think we're going to do all of our client appreciation parties at the house.
No, not all of them.
I was like, man,
but I do think like how cool would it be to at least be able to do like a private chef and be able to have like maybe like some of your clients.
For sure. Like
you say like, hey, who are our like 10 best clients this year that like support us with referrals and support us with this? We're going to have
above and beyond.
Yeah, we're going to have like an actual chef come out, do a private meal. And then I just think in general, like agent training events, masterminds, we use obviously our upline, his house right this second. We do some really cool events at, and ours just hasn't been as I don't want to use my current house for events, but this house I will. And videos, right? We can start filming stuff.
Yeah, we'll film a lot of stuff there.
We'll see if Mike's invited or not, I guess.
I'm just thinking Owen or Brooklyn's birthday party's there, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's a use I didn't think of and will never use for.
That's something that will never happen there.
Yeah, a bunch of children around my pool.
I think Owen
Yeah,
will
no
just
thanks.
show up randomly to tell us like the bad job that his dad's doing, which seems to be his MO of recent. He's like, my dad's the worst. I'm like, Owen, come on, man. He's doing his best.
All righty. So what's new with you before we go into deep dive?
New
Anything?
with me, I just, it's funny. There's one thing that I hate, and it's yard work. And I just paid.
You should
a company, move. I know. I've heard that
build
argument.
Galen a
from
house.
several
Let's just
people.
build
I
a better
just had
house.
a company come out and remove every vestige of leaf in my anywhere I can see. They're all gone. It's the best money I've ever spent. Like an expensive thing, and I'm just like, I will do it again tomorrow.
But was it that expensive?
To me, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, it's basically equates to like if you're paying like $50 a month, just all at one time. So it's like not to me not that bad, but like I like to go home. Like my neighbors are just leaves everywhere, and I just walk into Shangri-La. I'm like, hey, what's that like?
Yeah, my
I'm
lawn
like, I
guy
love it.
came last week, and I think normally it's like $50 maybe for him to cut the grass, and so he did all the leaves, and I was like, well, how much is it? And he was like 60 this time, and I was like, okay.
See,
That's a great deal.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like I don't have a ton of leaves in the
I have a
front
ton.
yard, but I had some, and he had to do it. And the back was all leaves, so he had to pretty much just cut and then blow back. But yeah, same thing. It's clean. It's like a clean
That's the
slate.
one thing I like about this house. There's no trees immediately on the yard area. So
bro,
it's not
all
as
I
much.
got is trees and leaves.
So the new house is almost 3 acres, and I haven't talked to them about clearing everything yet. But they said in the contract that they will clear up to an acre without any upcharges. And I want that whole acre cleared. Like I want to just like get every bit of wood away from my house itself. I want the woods on the side to like block the neighbors.
yeah.
But like I do kind of want like he was like, well, you can have trees lining the front so it hides the front of the house and this and that. I'm kind of like, nah, just give me an acre square with no trees near my house.
Nothing's
And
falling on the house
because the
nothing's-
garage, it's like a 5-car, so the 3-car is going to kind of like block a lot of that. I think looking in, like
Yeah.
you'd have to kind of like drive past into the cul-de-sac and then kind of like sit past the cul-de-sac to try to stare into my house. Which who's going to do that?
No
It's
one.
just weird.
Yeah.
And then the trees on the side should block, the view to the pool and the back deck and all that. So I'm just like, I don't want pine needles in my
away.
pool. I don't want leaves in my pool.
Ugh,
Just
the
first
worst.
first world issues.
Hey, that's the world we live in.
Our
The
world.
first one.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Unless
We're-
you're in West Virginia.
yeah. If you listen to our last podcast, we roasted West Virginians. Sorry, guys.
Sorry
for not being-
never do it again. But I'm looking at you, Kentucky.
Sorry for being
I was say what other state we got? Ohio.
Ohio.
I'm looking at you, Kentucky.
Sorry for being born
No,
in the
Kentucky
wrong.
brought us whiskey.
Yeah,
Bourbon,
sorry for
so.
being born in the wrong Virginia, guys. So deep dive. Before we jump in, again, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel if you're listening on YouTube. If you're on the podcast, obviously subscribe to that. But find us on YouTube because we're doing a lot of other videos that aren't going to be on the podcast that are just strictly YouTube related. So more training, more agent-related things. We also are doing a channel dedicated to Richmond, Virginia. So if you're in Richmond or you're a buyer or seller, you may want to try to find that one as well. You can reach out to us at any point. You can email me at jared@centralvarealty.com if you have any questions, if you're an agent looking to grow your business, looking for some coaching, looking for some training, or you can reach Galen.
Galen at Central VA Realty. I didn't know that you were going to throw it over to me. I was like, oh, okay. I thought you were just going to tell them
Just
my
pitching,
stuff.
just throwing you this.
Galen, Galen, at centralvarealty.com. We are looking to help. We appreciate all of you guys for dialing into this station here. So
That's right. So our deep dive topic of today is how to surround yourself with success in real estate.
it's all about the power of proximity.
Yeah, I agree.
You are the sum of your worst friend, right? So it's like,
Or I say you're the average of the top 5 people you're around.
yeah, but you're measured by them.
100%. Yeah. So if you hang out with 5 very average people, then you're probably gonna be very average. And if you hire, if you got 4 above average and 1 average, then hopefully the average guy isn't bringing you down too much because the other 4 are bringing you up, right?
We were thinking about this the other day. Why don't more people hang out? Like you, let's say you're kind of successful,
Okay.
but you want to be more successful.
Uh-huh.
Let's say you're very realistic with yourself and you're not successful at all. Why don't more people hang out with more successful people? And we kind of broke it down. It's almost like a psychological thing. It's that it's very uncomfortable to surround yourself with people who who are super successful.
You wanted to say better than you, but
yeah, I'm trying to avoid like better than your superiors, your betters. And the reason for that is because people like.
Let's just say they're outperforming you.
They're outperforming.
You don't want to be the loser out of the 5 people that are
it's very uncomfortable.
But and my thing is, I'll go a step further to say that people hang out with people that are like them most of the time.
100%.
So if they're trying to get better, it's hard to maybe shift out. And then I do think a lot of it is, the door doesn't necessarily get opened right away without doing a lot of work first to get into it. I don't come from any background of money or wealth. I didn't go to college. I didn't do anything. We've built this multi-million-dollar real estate team and other multi-million-dollar companies at this point. And now I have a great sphere of investors and friends and partners and people that have been great, that have given me the opportunity to come in and partner with them now.
Yeah.
But it was a long road to get there, obviously. It didn't start like that. It's hard to just walk in and say, hey, let me into your group without adding some kind of value, right?
Yeah, And one of the things I think a lot of times people will hang out with people who are, I'm going to bumble the whole better than, but people who are like them.
Yeah.
Because they often want to be the top. They like to feel, they like to stick their chest out and say like, well, I'm the smartest guy in this group. I make the most money. And then they kind of lord it over other people. They're always talking about how much they do because they know that everyone around them is lower than them. Because if you come to a room, you're like, hey guys, I just made $200,000 a year, and they're all like, wow, that's awesome. But if you had like 6 guys next to you, be like, that's it?
That's what we made last month.
I made that last month. And then you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so people don't like that feeling. But the problem is you need to be uncomfortable to be successful.
Yeah, and if I'm the smartest guy in the room, I want a new room, pretty much.
100%.
And that's and part of that's that proximity that you talked about. Because
Power of proximity.
At the end of the day, if they say there's certain kind of fish where if you put them in a small pond, they will literally stop growing. They just will not grow anymore. Mm-hmm. And yet if you took them out and you put them into a bigger pond, I was going to say the ocean, but what if they're not a saltwater fish and then they die? So if you just put them into a bigger body of water,
that's a comment. Yeah,
then they will actually grow larger, just taking them out of that pond. And so that's what we found in our business is we were a top team, I was the top single producing agent at a RE/MAX and the top team at a RE/MAX. And it was almost like we were just kind of in that pond and you were as big as you could get. You just figure, there's nobody out that's outperforming us. We're doing great. And then we move over to EXP, and all of a sudden I'm like, wow, we are definitely not the top team now. And don't get me wrong, now we're the number 2 producing team at EXP, but our numbers have grown exponentially over the last 2 years because of the proximity to the number 1 team at EXP that, we're saying, okay, well, we'll do probably holding 250, 300 transactions next year, which is great, I think, in our numbers, but they'll probably do 500 to 600 transactions. Yeah. So that's double. So then you're like, okay, well, if that's the trajectory, right, it gives you something to work for. You see the bigger fish and you're like, man, I thought it was a big fish, but
that's a big fish.
I'm going to grow up and be like that fish.
Yeah, and the reason I like that you mentioned that because we were not comfortable. We didn't like that comfort, that feeling of we need that
I wanted to grow, but I didn't know how.
Yeah, it's like, we how do we do this? We want it. There's a question or there's a point I think everyone's going to run into, and it's like, do you run or do you rally? Mm-hmm. Right? When you are uncomfortable, you can either run back to comfort. You're going to run back to what you've always done. You're the prettiest girl in your high school, but your high school's in West Virginia. But you're just you're in that situation. Your high school's in Kentucky.
There's the Kentucky jab.
Here you are, Kentucky. You thought I forgot? No. So you can either run back to comfort or you can rally back up to success. And you want to surround yourself with people who are constantly rallying up to success, but also rallying you up to success. Because what I've noticed is that when you're around other successful people who are good people, and we've talked about this in other podcasts, not only are they there, but they want you. So they're extending their hand and they're pulling you up. They're like, no, don't go back to comfort.
Man, our entire team.
Pull this up, yeah.
Anybody that's on our team, if you are on our team and you're listening to this, awesome. If we've sponsored you into EXP, I care about growing our team and I have an insane vision. But if you're a solo agent, I am still you call me every day. I don't care what day you call me. You want what softwares we're using. You want what training we're doing. You want to come to our team meetings to know how to do your team meetings. You want to come to our call days so that you can see how our call days are run.
Bring your team.
Oh my goodness, we do that stuff all the time because to me, if I can help their team grow, it only helps us in the long run. So I mean, I want to project that success on everybody if we can. Project.
I wrote down
project to help them their trajectory. Project success so that their trajectory. My vocab's terrible right now.
I know. I was liking it. I was like project to traject. All right, I like it.
We should have just stopped. Probably no one caught it, and I caught the word. I was like, I gotta fix that. That doesn't sound right. So hold on. Let's do. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was thinking about rallying to what is hard, and that is what other people will do. What we do for other people is that we're gonna say like, listen, what you're doing is great.
Yep.
But if you want to, we're going to show you something that initially is going to be harder. You're going to think like, man, this does not feel good. I don't like making these calls, or I don't like doing this, or I don't like having this conversation. We'll show you how to do that so that now you've leveled up yourself.
Well,
right?
A lot of the time it's just a change in your business too, because
mindset.
What you've been doing may change drastically, and the 40 hours that you were spending just selling or doing whatever you were doing to be successful before, you may realize that now you're working a lot of different hours of totally different things, whether it's social media, podcasting, building a team meetings, training, going on other agents' appointments, whatever that may be, right? It's going to change. So let's talk about really, again, how to surround yourself with success. I came up with a few key things as far as what we need to do to surround ourselves with success. And we've touched on some of that already, but I want to take kind of one kind of bullet point at a time.
All right.
So I think the first thing, and this goes for whether you're a new agent that's listening to this, you're getting into the business and saying, how do I get around successful agents, successful people, whatever it is, or it could be someone like where we were a couple years ago, where we were a top producing team. We were one of the top 50 teams in Central Virginia, but wanting to grow to that top 10 team in Central Virginia, right? So we were already doing good. We were already in the 1%. But we were able to vastly...
We weren't starving.
We were able to vastly grow. So this goes for everybody. So I think the first thing to touch on, I had these in no particular order, so I'm going to kind of reorder them as I go along.
Okay.
I think it's team / brokerage of other winners.
Very smart.
So again, if you're a new agent or if you're a solo agent that's just trying to grow, you may want to associate yourself with a team at some point because you can see what are they doing to succeed? What lead systems are they using? What softwares are they using? Even if you don't want to be on a team for the long term, it's not a bad thing because if you're a top team, most likely you have systems in place to be that. And so if you're starting from scratch, then you may not know what to be doing as far as
or what
the
works
systems.
Doesn't work.
But now, let's say you are not a solo agent, you're not a new agent, you're a team like we are.
Okay.
See, we had like 5 people on our team, so we were kind of small. Now we have about 24, 25 people. Again, we didn't need to join a team, but the proximity to other top teams helped a ton. So again, we were the top team out of Remax Brokerage. When we shifted over to EXP, we were still a big team with EXP, but the sponsor that brought us in was an even bigger team. So he was able to say, hey, here's how we're running our transactions. Here's how we're doing our training meetings. Here's how we're generating leads. Here's how we're using software. And then that's gone even farther because for someone like me as an Icon agent with EXP, that makes me have to do different EXP Icon masterminds with other agents. And so even outside of the area, I've now gotten to do all these masterminds with agents that are in different states, even Canada. And you're seeing these agents that are doing 600-700 deals a year as a team, or you're seeing these commercial brokers that are doing $1 billion in sales. And to be on the same panels as them, you know, sometimes I don't even want to talk. I just want to just, hey, I know.
Did you say what you just said again,
yeah,
sir?
I think I have a lot to give and help, but I'm like, I'm just going to shut up for the hour while y'all are talking, and I'm going to take my own notes. And that has been key because whereas we thought, okay, we're kind of just like maxing out where we're at, how can you grow? Now your mind is open, and you're like, oh my gosh, if we want to do 1,000 deals a year, we can if we want to.
I like what you said there about like taking your own notes because I wrote down in here, it's like, you've got to take time to check your own ego, right? If you're not a humble person, you would have never stopped and thought, how do I learn from these guys?
Yeah.
You would have been like, I can't wait till I talk so they can, get from me. But it's just kind of like humility is like the biggest value that makes you small, right? So it's like, you've got to realize like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
there's some value in this proximity. It's like, it's not always a competitive thing. Yes, we're competitive. Like, even with that team that's with EXP, our sponsor, we do compete with them to a certain degree because we want to grow and stuff, but it's like, it's not, at the detriment of our own success or the relationship. So
well,
it's
and
like,
they
so
know
smart.
if they help us grow, then they make more money because they brought us into EXP. So that's the whole thing. Is it's given us this camaraderie where every single person in the brokerage. I mean, literally, we're the number 2 producing team in Central Virginia behind the number 1, which is our sponsor, and the number 3 is also sponsored by our sponsor. So even though we're not in the same line, we're in the same group.
Yeah.
And so even me and him, I'll give him anything he wants because I know that overall we're helping the company, we're helping the brokerage grow, and it's taking us to number 1 in Richmond, Virginia. So it's just been amazing. And I think about, we always say we like to R&D things, rip off and duplicate. So that's why we do what we do. We hope that you're listening in another state or another market and you're like, I'm going to rip off everything they're doing. And I'm going to duplicate it in my market. And
send us a DM so we can see how successful you've
seriously, be like,
into.
we're taking all of your stuff. Send us a message. Be
Change
like,
your name to Jared and Galen.
we're listening. We're taking it. So I think, again, if you're in a brokerage and you're the number 1 person in your brokerage right now, I hate to say it, but you may want another brokerage.
Time to grow.
You may, or again, how can you mastermind with other agents, maybe outside of the brokerage and things like that? So that can actually take us to our next thing, because I said the team or the brokerage. But again, the next step would be masterminding with other agents. So are you well liked in your market? How do other realtors feel about you when you call, when you put a contract in? Do they say, oh man, is it like Galen, your realtor's favorite realtor? Or is it like, oh man, I do not want to deal with this guy again? See, friendships go a long way in this business.
I mean, praise. I love hearing people say that, because they don't realize that the idea of you being adversarial on a real estate transaction does not serve you, your clients, or anyone well in the future.
Yeah.
I was like, it just doesn't work like that. There's certain aspects of my business that I want to always do that sometimes people are like, oh, I don't do that anymore. I'll talk about that another day. But I want other agents to come to me like, hey, Galen, do you mind doing this, or you want to help with this? Because you want to be that agent where people are bringing you opportunities to make money. And we're never going to do that if you have never networked with us. You never mastermind with us. You never came to Cocktail for Closers. You've never done anything. It's like, how do we know you exist? So if you're trying to grow your own business, people have to know that you're alive.
You ever hear an agent say like, man, I love negotiating. I'm such a good negotiator. You know what I've never said about another realtor? Man, that guy was such a cutthroat negotiator. I love dealing with him.
Yeah.
Ever.
It made me feel terrible. I can't wait till I do that again.
Yeah, he really did just tear everything apart and make sure that he was the big guy on camp. No one cares. No one cares. We want to be like, you know what? When we're done, let's go get a beer, because that was great. That was easy. That was fun. I can't wait till you put another contract in. And so that opens the door to say, all right, how do we mastermind, right? Even if you're not with us, we do an event called Cocktails for Closers. So it's open to all agents in Richmond.
Take notes, RD it.
Rip off and duplicate it. It's great. And the realtors in town love it. I put offers in and they're like, wow, you're the Cocktails for Closers guy, because they needed it. Right? I mean, we're always in a deal together. We're always just, again, going back and forth in negotiations and contracts and work. This lets us kind of let our hair down, have a drink, mastermind together. So it lets you start picking the brain of other agents to see what they're doing to be successful, whether they're at your brokerage or not. And that's turned into awesome relationships. I've had showings off of it now where agents call me and they're like, man, it's so good. Cocktails for Closers the last time.
Enjoyed
having drinks
it,
with you, trying to get my clients in on this house that you got listed. So how can you mastermind with other agents is a big thing. With EXP, again, as an icon, you've got icon panels. So if you are an icon agent, that means you essentially cap, and then EXP gives you your cap back in company stock each year. You're on said panels, so you're part of these mastermind panels as a speaker and teaching. But if you're not an icon agent, then you can join. The whole point is that agents wanting to learn can join in and listen to these, top agents.
Or, throw your own.
Or do them locally, yeah.
If you don't have the opportunity, say you're not with our brokerage, right?
For sure.
You're a little brokerage or whatever. They don't offer that. That's just not something.
Yeah.
Well, then take times like it would probably benefit you to such a great degree if you were the person that started the whatever town you're in, Kentucky mastermind, or the Cocktails for Closings, or the Bourbon for Ballers, whatever it is in
I
your
like that one.
little
I
area.
like
You like
one.
that?
Bourbon for Ballers.
Do you like Bourbon for Ballers?
I kind of do.
I thought about that. We'll talk about that later.
Sweet.
But whatever it is, start that up because you're going to want. Now, perhaps in the beginning, you don't have the big dogs, right? Maybe you've got like the guys like you, but if you're going to be able to see very quickly who's going to put in the work to grow, and then maybe you start growing with them, and then 5 years down the line, 2 years down the line, you are the big dog, and you're surrounded by other people that you outworked everyone else.
But then it's like, how do you find other big dogs in other markets? Because at that point, again, if you are the number one,
they will come.
yeah, and I do. I think it's like stuff like this. We do this podcast as part of a reason so that we can try to reach out to other people because we want people in other markets to reach out and say, hey man, we love what you're doing with this. We're going to take that. This is some of the stuff that we're doing in this market. How can we partner? How can we refer stuff? I mean, we just came back from EXP Con in Vegas, and I just had an agent hit me up and just say, hey man, great meeting you there. I've actually got a referral in Richmond, right? So we're passing business back and forth. So we're trying to grow our businesses, right? This is the way to do it. How do we have good relationships with other realtors in other markets as well? Third bullet point.
Okay.
And technically I could almost wrap everything into this third bullet point that I have. If you have anything you want to add, great. But the third bullet point is really education in itself. But then from that, we branch into different things, whether it be what are you doing to learn on your own? Are you listening to audiobooks? Are you listening to podcasts like this with other top realtors, conferences, and then actual real estate coaching? So those are the kind of the things we could break down kind of one by one here and there. Maybe we could start with coaching, right? So you think about coaching. If you're a brand new agent, that may be kind of expensive to hire a coach out.
Especially if you don't have any transactions under your belt, you don't have the cash at your disposal.
It doesn't mean it's not worth it. Don't get me wrong.
Definitely
I
worth
think it's
it.
one of the best things that someone can do is actually get a coach, because one of the hardest things in real estate for most people is keeping themselves accountable. And that's what that coach is going to help you do. Obviously, they're trying to make you great. You're paying for them to make you great. But it depends on the program. Most coachings are going to be about $1,000 a month, at least, if you're going to be dealing with somebody that's a top coach that's going to be calling you each week and things like that. But not only does that open the door to one-on-one training, keeps you accountable, but then most of the time, like Buffini or Tom Ferry or Mike Ferry, most of the time they also have their annual conferences and things like that. So
meet other agents.
Yep, and they have their own referral networks and things like that. So coaching's one thing, obviously. If you need the accountability, go ahead, Galen.
I like coaching because one of the things that I've just noticed from agents that come on to just not our team or just they have no concept of structuring their day. And I feel like coaching is such a great way to help structure your day with activities that will actually generate you money, because there's tons of people who have structured their day with things that are like, this is not going to help you.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, I was Googling this and I was watching, and it's like, these are all great, but structure your day that you will be successful tomorrow.
Yep.
So that's why coaching is good. Your accountability, because we a couple episodes, maybe it was like last episode, you talked about like making the number of calls that you make. It's like your goal is 200. Well, you called 75. Who's going to say anything to you about that?
Nobody.
It's like, but you've got to, if you're on a team like ours, well, then you've got like me, you've got like Nate. We're going to be like, hey, where are you as far as your goal?
Yep.
How have you done? We will love you, but we will also give you that uncle treatment and be like, hey, get off your butt. Let's get to work. So you need that, and coaching is going to be such a critical component of that.
Yeah, I think the conferences comes up next. I mean, we've talked about this on our podcast before. I think even the last last episode, I think we talked about this a little. But I actually did not do many conferences in the first years of my business. I didn't really want to pay to fly somewhere and get a hotel and get all these things originally. I was with Remax for 8 years. They do, what is it, R4, whatever they call it. Or I think maybe it changes with each thing. I don't know if it goes like R4, R5, R6, or if it's always R4. I don't know what the deal is. But I never went.
I was like, how many times did you go, Jay?
I should have gone. In hindsight, I should have gone. I went to a Buffini conference one time, and I thought it was good. It was like a one-day conference, but I wasn't a part of Buffini, but I did go to it, and I liked it. I learned stuff. In the last year, though, I started doing the EXP training. So Brent Gove, awesome dude. He does a couple conferences each year, and then EXP throws their own each year. So me and Galen went to one in Dallas back in August, And that one had Tony
I
Robbins at
immediately
it.
got a smile on my face just thinking about it.
I mean, it was just 3 days of just epic keynote speeches, and then Tony Robbins. And I mean, we are still pumped up from that, and it's been 6 months, right? It's just been amazing. And then we went to EXP Con. They had who'd they have?
You got Venus Williams, you got Grant Cardone, you've just got a ton, Mike Sherrod, you got a ton of ballers who are giving you all of these gems if you are smart enough to pick them up.
That's it. So you think about it, again, we've been in this for almost a decade. We're selling hundreds of houses a year. You know, we're on track for hopefully $100 million in sales over the next couple of years. And we still learn something every single time we go to one of these things. Something where it says, wow, we've got to change this for our team dynamic. We have got to change this as far as people that are coming to EXP with us so that we can help them grow. We have to give them different training modules, help them be able to grow their teams, whether it be whatever, marketing, social media. Like you said, Mike Sherrard, he was a keynote at the last EXP Con. Shout out to Mike. If you ever listen to this, Wolfpack.
We'll at you.
There you go. Yeah, we can tag you. We talked about you here. But, you know, just great approaches on stuff like that. Videos like this, right? It markets for you 24 hours a day, whether you like it or not. Once it's out there, you know, you could be listening to this somewhere while we're asleep. Who knows?
I like one of the things that it's almost intrinsic when it comes to like conferences that I just probably just you're not aware of. Like, say your conference always has like a theme of what they're trying to convey. But I think conferences are nice because they challenge you to like dream bigger than what you even thought about. Yeah. And it's also a reminder that some of these people that they're keynote speakers, it's like what they have is not that different than what you have. It's not like, you know, these guys are like, oh, they're just way more talented than you. That's generally not the case. It's just that these are people who are working hard at it. So you're like, I could be that person. And so when we brought like the team, I think a lot of the team were like, I can do that. Yeah. I can do that. I'm like, yeah, you can. That's what we've been trying to tell you for the past like year. You can do these things. And so now I see, and hopefully they'll keep doing like making, you know, small changes to their own business of like, all right, this is what I want. This is what I want for myself. And so, but conferences are great because you're just like looking at your peers. Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, I can do that. But what's nice about EXP is that after your keynote speaker walks on the stage, you can like walk right up to him and be like, hey, can you tell me everything you did to be successful?
Like, here's my cell number.
They're like, here you go. Call me at late night. I don't care. And it's like, it's amazing.
100%. That, and then even the people that aren't keynote speakers, I mean, the conferences are awesome because you get to meet agents from different markets. You start talking. You're hanging out every day. And so one thing you get is a confidence boost because you talk to agents that maybe you're doing better than. You give them some insight. You become that help to them. And you're like, man, I'm happy I got to help that guy. They reach out. They're thankful. You're like, we really are doing good. And then on the flip side, you meet the agents where you're like, wow, you're doing what? You have how many people?
How did you do that?
How did you do that? And
they're always like, oh, I started last week, or like I started last year, and you're just like, ah.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, wait, hold on, you brought in 250 people in the last 12 months off of what? Off of how? You know, how did you do this? How did you grow this? So it really just shows
LinkedIn,
you what's,
you know, it's like what?
Yeah, it shows you what's possible, and so that's huge. And then if you can't afford to fly to some conference, if you can't afford the hotel rooms yet, if you don't know where to go yet, whatever, at least figure out what you're doing to educate yourself on a daily basis. Are you listening to books? I keep an Audible account just because they give you credits every month. So, you know, I may not think about it separately without the account to say, oh, I got to go buy a book right this second. But when I get a notification that says, hey, you got 2 new credits, now I know, hey, I've got 2 books that I can now listen to. So that means I get to knock out 2 books a month. And it always has me looking for stuff because I never want more than a couple. Like if I've got 5 credits, I'm like, man, I haven't listened to any books. So I just always want 0 credits. As soon as I have credits, I'm like, what's my next book? I favorite it. I wait for it to reset. I listen to the next one. I take notes. I incorporate them into team meetings. Podcasts like this, right? You've got our podcast. You've got, you know, Bigger Pockets if you want to become an investor and do stuff like that. So it's what podcasts are you listening to? Who are you reaching out to? Again, do you have the nerve or the guts to reach out to us and say, hey, I'm listening. I like it. How can we help each other, right? Like I love when we hear from people.
I remember when I like before I had really jumped into real estate, I was like listening to a podcast and like wrote down like 3 names and I called all 3 of them and they all were like, yeah, we scheduled time. And like I was only like in the conference room of my full-time job, like, yeah, I'm going to take a closing the door. I'm like, all right, so how do I get out of here? And the guy was just like, yeah, I was at a Fortune 200. One of the guys, like later I found out we were at the same type of job. So it was kind of like wild to see. He was like, oh, where do you work? And I told him, he's like, I used to work there.
Wow.
And I was like, are you serious? Like that's happened twice in real estate where people are like, but that company is like a big sales trainer. So they just like they attract entrepreneurs who will eventually leave them.
Yeah.
So I was like, being able to reach out to these guys and just be like, hey, listen, I know you're busy. I can see that you're killing it with like 90 transactions. I have 0 transactions because I'm not even in the business. Do you mind telling me what? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Call me right now. We'll talk about it. And it's like, but you've got to be willing to do that for yourself. And that's all about proximity. Are you willing to surround or reach out to successful people?
There you go. I think that covers it. Anything else you want to add? What do you got?
I actually put one thing, and it was just like, it's about talent. Okay. When you realize, when you see you're not, for the most part, going to come across a lot of people in your network. They're like, man, that guy's just so much more talented than me. I was like, what you're running into is like, that guy's way more hardworking than you are. That's a discipline that anyone can, kind of create. It's like, you don't have to be the most clever, charming person, but if you're willing to wake up early and stay up late and make the calls, follow up, follow through, follow back, all of these things, then you will be a success. And if you're wanting to know how you can do that, feel free to reach out to this guy, Jared Davis, or this guy, Galen Parker. We're happy to help.
That's right. Jared, Jared, at centralvarealty.com, or Galen, Galen, at centralvarealty.com.
I was going to laugh if you misspelled my own name. I would be like,
G-E-J. I think it's Jalen.
How do they find you on Instagram, Jared?
_ the Davis Group. And you?
They will find me at your realtor's favorite realtor, RVA. You can also, if you just Google that, I've changed it. So now like my Facebook page says that, my Instagram says that, LinkedIn says that, TikTok says that. Holler at me if you're on TikTok. I've been getting
When's the next one coming?
Well, I was off last week, so they're definitely coming this week. You'll probably see 2 or 3 this week.
Nice. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Let us know what you want to hear. Reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you grow your business. If you are podcasting and you're listening to this while you drive, again, you've got the emails. You can reach out to us at like and subscribe as well. Find us on YouTube. We've got a couple channels, obviously, that we're building out. We love your feedback. We love that you're listening. We thank you for listening, and we are here to help you grow your business. Again, this is another episode of RVA Real Estate Talk, and we thank you for listening in.
If you have a real estate question that you would like to ask Jared or Galen, reach out to them at jared@centralvarealty.com or Galen@centralvarealty.com. Who knows, it may even be featured on an upcoming episode.